My name is Nathan Zellers, and I'm a student at Ohio University. On May 29th, I received a text message from an old friend that read, "Did you hear that Dennis Hopper died?" I was not very surprised to hear this news, as Mr. Hopper's personal appearance at his last public outing, which was to receive his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which was long overdue, really indicated his failing health. But I was still deeply saddened to hear this news, as Mr. Hopper was one of the most influential writers, actors, and directors of this century, and one of my personal favorites. Mr. Hopper really embodied rebellion, counterculture, and not so infrequently, the darker side of human nature. His ability to make us think critically about topics and themes that often go unmentioned and undiscussed was uncanny. Mr. Hopper really was bound for a unique career path, as his first role was alongside that of James Dean in the 1950s classic, Rebel Without a Cause. Perhaps Mr. Hopper's career high point came when he directed and starred in the 1960s classic Easy Rider, alongside Jack Nicholson and Peter Fonda. The cult classic told the story of two young men jaded by society and fed up with the dying 1960s movement, much like Mr. Hopper himself. This really made Mr. Hopper a bona fide Hollywood star and earned him his first Oscar nomination for Best Original Screenplay. Mr. Hopper also starred in a string of successful movies in the 1970s and 1980s in the roles such as the insane motor-mouth photographer slash philosopher in Apocalypse Now, the alcoholic basketball coach in Hoosiers, which also earned him an Oscar nomination, and his role as a drug-inhaling degenerate gangster, a role that Mr. Hopper often said he was born to play, and David Lynch's Blue Velvet. Mr. Hopper's on-screen persona seemed to follow him into his personal life more often than not. Mr. Hopper really battled alcohol and drug addiction for most of his life, especially in the 1970s and 1980s, similar to many of the characters that he portrayed on screen. But towards the end of his life, Mr. Hopper was finally able to conquer his demons and live the rest of his life out sober. Mr. Hopper was also notorious for his trouble with women, as he was married and divorced 5 times in his life. But during this time, Mr. Hopper was lucky enough to father 4 children. Mr. Hopper was really fortunate enough to live a life that had significant highs and lows, just like anyone that lives as fast and passionate as he did. He truly was an American icon, representing everybody and anybody that ever wanted to question and think of something different than the status quo. He was a rambling wild man who was kind enough to let us in and show us a different side of the American experience. Mr. Hopper once stated, "There are moments that I've had in life, some of real brilliance, but I think moments are all they really were, and sometimes moments are all that really matter." Well, Mr. Hopper, we're glad to share those moments with you throughout your career.